You're standing where the sky and the earth finally agree to be one. Clouds drift beneath your boots. The horizon vanishes into a perfect line of light. Hidden in a remote corner of the Bolivian Andes, nearly 12,000 feet above sea level, there's a destination that looks less like a place and more like a revelation. Salar de Uyuni, the largest salt flat on the planet, glitters like snow at noon and becomes the world's largest mirror after a rain, reflecting galaxies with such precision that for a second, you truly believe you were walking across the ceiling of the universe. You've seen the photos, you've scrolled past the viral clips, but the screen never captures the silence, the weightless feeling, the breath you didn't realize you were holding. This is not a backdrop. It's a turning point, a hidden gem that shifts your idea of what a trip can be. And this is your ultimate guide to experiencing it like a filmmaker, like a pilgrim, like someone who came to the Andes not for a vacation, but for a transformation. Long before tire tracks stitched patterns across this white infinity, long before photographers brought tripods to chase reflections, there was water. Millions of years ago, a prehistoric inland sea, Lago Minchin, stretched across the Altiplano. As the climate shifted and the water retreated, minerals remained. At sunrise, the light slides across the flats with a softness that could only belong to a high-altitude morning. The white ground blushes pink, then silver, then a clean, impossible white that looks painted. On the horizon, the outline of Tunupa volcano sharpens like a blade. Somewhere nearby, workers chip blocks from the crust and stack them into neat pyramids to dry, an unhurried rhythm that has barely changed for generations. If you walk out a short way, the hexagon patterns underfoot appear like frost fractals, each one a signature left by evaporation. And then the wind picks up, and a tiny whisper of salt dust slides across your path. And you understand why the locals call this a place of meeting. Heaven above, earth below, and you exactly in the middle. Reaching Uyuni from the United States is easier than the remoteness suggests. Most travelers fly into La Paz or Santa Cruz. From La Paz, a one-hour domestic flight lands you in the town of Uyuni, the gateway to the salt flats. From Santa Cruz, connections through La Paz are common. If you're in a storytelling mood, the overnight bus from La Paz to Uyuni is its own chapter, a slow climb across the Altiplano under constellations so bright you will press your forehead to the window like a kid. In Uyuni, 4x4 expeditions fan out each morning like little expeditions to the moon. Drivers know the flats the way sailors know currents. They read the surface, matte, glossy, rippled, and decide how far the day will let you go. The sensation when the tires first leave gravel and kiss salt is unforgettable, like taxiing onto a frozen lake made of glass and light. The Salar is not one experience. It's a dozen moods, each with its own soundtrack. In the rainy season, usually December to April, the thinnest layer of water transforms the flats into the world's cleanest mirror. The sky repeats itself beneath your feet, clouds flocking in both directions, the sun pinned twice to the day. People come here for a bucket list photo and leave with something harder to file away. The trick is to walk a little away from the cars, away from the chatter, and stand still long enough to hear how quiet the mirror can be. In the dry season, May through October, the salt hardens into flawless polygons edged with faint ridges, perfect for driving deep into the white. This is when you'll stage the classic perspective shots, friends standing on your palm, tiny trucks driving out of a thermos, a toy dinosaur chasing a human, because the horizon line is gone and space plays by new rules. Out in that white ocean rises an improbable island, Incahuasi. It's a cactus forest growing out of ancient coral, a pause button in the middle of infinity. The cacti are colossal, some over 1,000 years old. And when you hike to the top, the world arranges itself in a perfect circle of white. It's the kind of view that rearranges how your brain files distances. On the edge of the flats, the train cemetery tells a different story. a rust and iron love letter to Bolivia's mining era. Locomotives, bleached and skeletal, are stranded in perpetuity, graffiti-kissed and wind-polished. Climb into a cab, look through the empty window frame toward the flats, and you'll feel you've stepped into a western shot by a sci-fi director. North, the flanks of Tunupa volcano are streaked with reds and ochres. A hike on its lower slopes turns the Salar into a map below you, a silver sea pricked with tiny moving dots that are actually full-sized land cruisers. Tucked into the rock, a small cave preserves mummies, eerie, delicate witnesses to a time before the Inca. The air is so dry here that the past refuses to disappear. And if your route pushes farther south into the Eduardo Avaroa Andean Fauna National Reserve, the palette flips, from white to blood red at Laguna Colorada, where flamingos, elegant, absurd, perfectly designed, tiptoe across shallow crimson water stained by algae and minerals. Then to emerald at Laguna Verde, where wind sculpts the surface into scales and the volcano Licancabur stands like a pyramid against the sky. Geysers hiss. Stone trees balance on narrow pedestals. Vicuñas scatter like brush strokes across the steppe. This borderland with Chile is where landscapes stop pretending to be normal and just go ahead and be Mars. Stay until dark. The night sky on the Salar is a luxury no credit card can buy. On a moonless evening, the Milky Way is a river of milk in a bowl of ink. If rain has left even a finger's depth of water, the stars repeat under your boots so precisely that your balance falters for a second as if gravity has lost interest. Photographers bring trackers and heavy lenses. You can bring nothing and still feel like you captured the only shot that matters. Watch long enough and you'll see satellites slide by, human fingerprints on a divine ceiling. Watch longer, and the cold will nibble your cheeks and remind you that up here, comfort is something you carry in layers. Even sleep is a storyline. In Uyuni town, you all find simple guest houses with warm blankets and hot showers, budget-friendly bases that put you within minutes of morning departures. If you want comfort with character, lodges in Colchani or near the edge of the flats offer saunas, fireplaces, and views that turn breakfast into a screensaver. And then there are the famous salt hotels, entire structures built from pressed blocks of salt, walls that crunch faintly when you run your hand across them. Beds set against grainy white textures, dining rooms where candles glow against crystals. Palacio de Sal, Luna Salada, names that sound like poems because they are. This is luxury reframed, quiet, elemental, handmade, a kind of eco-design that borrows from the desert and gives it back. Food in the highlands remembers where it comes from. Start a chilly morning with api morado, a thick drink of purple corn spiced with cinnamon and cloves, sweet, warming, the exact flavor of comfort in a place that can go below freezing when the sun steps away. Lunch might be quinoa soup, steaming and generous, followed by llama steak. Lean, tender, a taste that pairs beautifully with native potatoes or chuño, the ancient freeze-dried tuber that Andean communities perfected long before refrigeration. Salteñas, Bolivia's golden, juicy answer to the empanada, arrive like parcels of joy at mid-morning. Crack one open, and you'll find sweet, savory stew inside, the kind of bite that leaves your fingers glossy and your heart a degree happier. In a country that carries altitude like a crown, the cuisine knows how to nourish travelers who move more slowly, breathe more deliberately, and discover that patience makes everything taste better. If you're planning your stay by budget, think of Uyuni as a spectrum of experiences. On the frugal end, family-run hostels keep you close to the main square and pickup points. Rooms are basic and snug with hot water earning applause. Mid-range hotels combine rustic touches, stone walls, woven textiles, local wood, with modern comforts. Good heating, reliable Wi-Fi, a pool or sauna where you can coax warmth back into your bones after a long day on the flats. For a bucket list splurge, the Salt Hotels turn lodging into a story you'll tell for years. Some suites face the Salar directly, so dawn finds you before your alarm does. Others pattern their floors in crushed salt that sparkles like frost. Many source ingredients from nearby communities and run on solar when the sun is generous, folding sustainability into the definition of luxury. The best time to visit depends on the version of paradise you're after. The dry season, May through October, offers deep blue skies, easy driving, and those crisp polygon patterns that make the flats look engineered by an architect with a geometry obsession. It's prime for multi-day circuits that loop through lagoons, geysers, and border desert panoramas. The rainy season, roughly December through April, is the famed mirror window, unforgettable for creative shots and reflective walks, though heavy rain can sometimes limit access to certain zones. Shoulder months can be the sweet spot. Early November might hold the last of the dry crispness. Late March can deliver reflections with fewer crowds. No matter when you come, nights are cold. Pack layers like a pro, thermal base, fleece or down mid-layer, windproof shell. A warm hat, gloves, sunglasses for that high albedo glare, and sunscreen that you actually reapply. At altitude, hydration isn't wellness theater, it's survival technique. Take it slow on day one, sip coca tea if you like, and don't rush your victories. Your lungs will thank you. Getting around is straightforward once you pick your style. Day tours from Uyuni hit the greatest hits. The Mirror in Kahwasi, the train cemetery, then return before nightfall. 2 to 4 day circuits push deeper, overnighting in desert lodges or salt brick refuges and catching sunrise at lagoons where flamingos wake like pink flames. Private tours cost more but buy you control. Linger longer for astrophotography. Chase specific light. Ask your driver to detour to a salt pool where the water is turquoise like a gemstone and the crust rims glisten. Drivers are fonts of practical insight. Where the crust is too thin after last night, shower. Which track a stranger took and regretted. Which stretch will deliver the reflection so clean it will make you laugh. Culture here isn't a museum, it's a handshake. In the small towns along the edge of the flats, you will find markets with woven aguayos, bright textiles that seem to carry sunlight in their threads, tiny stands selling fresh salteñas and sopapillas, and elders who still harvest salt by hand with wooden tools that look like they belong in a history book. A few communities run cooperative lodges, where your stay funds local schools or healthcare. Ask permission before photographing people. Offer a smile in any language. Learn a few Spanish greetings and, if you're lucky, a couple Aymara phrases. Money here is the Boliviano. ATMs exist in Uyuni, but can run dry on busy weekends, so carry enough cash for tips, snacks, and that last-minute alpaca sweater that will save your sunset. SIM cards work, Wi-Fi exists, but expect your connectivity to behave like the wind. Present 1 minute, elsewhere the next. Because this is an ultimate guide and not a brochure, let's open a few secret doors. Near Tahua, where the land ripples up from the flats, there's the Cueva Galaxia, Galaxy Cave, where mineral formations look like frozen coral, reminders that this was once underwater. Nearby, Chulpas, ancient burial sites, rest quietly in the rock. Visit with a guide who can explain the respect these places deserve. Southwest, the Chiguana Desert is often skipped by day trip loops, which is wild because it looks like a dream a painter had about Mars. Low volcanic ridges, a track sketched in pale dust, vicuñas threading the valleys with the grace of deer. With the right driver and conditions, you can visit clear-rimmed salt ojos, small pools where turquoise water shimmers beneath thin crust. Look down into them and it feels like looking through an eye into the planet. If you're staying along the northern shore, wake before dawn and walk out on the flats in silence. The cold will make your breath visible. The first pink will catch on the cactus spines up on Incahuasi. And for a few minutes, you will have the largest mirror on Earth entirely to yourself. On a dry, breezy day, set up those wildly creative perspective shots the Salar is famous for. Bring props, A toy car, a coffee mug, a tiny ladder. Let your inner child direct a blockbuster on a budget of zero. If you're a cyclist with altitude legs, some operators arrange fat tire rides across sections of the flats. Slow, meditative, impossibly cinematic. If you love night, ask for an astrophotography session. Your guide will park where no other headlights intrude, and you'll learn to track the Milky Way as it arcs like spilled sugar across the hours. And if you're here with someone you love, the Salar does something rare to conversations. It stretches them out, slows them down, removes the internet, and hands you a horizon that listens. Practicalities don't ruin magic, they enable it. Bring a small day pack with water, snacks, a microfiber towel, and a Ziploc for your electronics in case of spray. A power bank will make you popular. For the mirror, sandals or water shoes help. For dry days, comfortable hiking shoes that you don't mind whitening on the edges. Sunglasses aren't optional. The glare is real. A hat with a brim saves you from squinting your entire trip. If you're prone to altitude sickness, talk to your doctor before you fly. Acclimatization is a strategy, not a wish. Tipping your driver and cook, if your tour includes one, is customary and appreciated. And if you see trash, pick it up. The desert remembers everything we leave behind. Let it remember you as a good guest. Not every moment will be photogenic, and that's perfect. Sometimes the wind will turn the mirror into a shiver of ripples. Sometimes a cloud will park itself stubbornly in front of the sunset like someone sitting in the best seat. Sometimes an axle-deep puddle will send your convoy on a detour that adds an hour, but gifts you a rainbow you would have missed. The Salar has a sense of humor. It'll ask you to adapt. In return, it gives you a rare gift, the feeling of being small in a way that enlarges you. There's a reason so many travelers call this a dream destination. It is not just the colors or the scale or the novelty of a hotel made of salt. It's how the place rearranges your sense of time. Minutes lengthen. Your phone forgets to beg for your attention. Your breath matches the wind. You remember that you are on a living planet that once held a sea here and chose to keep a memory of it sparkling on the roof of South America. You understand why communities treat the land like a relative and not a resource. And you start to calculate, not flights and prices and days off, but what other improbable places are hiding out there, waiting to change what you think a landscape can do to a person. When you finally stand on the mirror at twilight, with the first stars pricking through violet, you become a reflection too, a silhouette floating between two skies. If you listen closely, you all hear the flats say what they've always said to anyone who makes it this far. Slow down, look again, stay a minute longer. This is paradise without palm trees, luxury without gold faucets, a hidden gem that doesn't need to shout to be unforgettable. It's not an escape from the world, it's a way back into it, clearer, quieter, more in awe. If this journey spoke to you, if it pulled at the part of you that collects bucket list moments not as trophies, but as reminders that wonder still exists, then come with us again. There are more unlikely paradises out there, more unique destinations that defy expectations, more stories that deserve a place on your map and a chapter in your life. Subscribe to the channel, share this with a friend who needs a reason to dream, and tell us what hidden world you want to explore next. The mirror of the sky is only the beginning.